Welcome, viewers, to Mr. Embac, your gateway to thought-provoking content. In today's video, we delve into the complex and sensitive topic of Israel and Palestine. Before we begin, remember to engage respectfully in the comments below. Let's foster a space for open dialogue. The history of Israel and Palestine is a complex and contentious topic that spans over a century of political, religious, and cultural conflicts. In this video, I will try to provide a brief overview of the main events and issues that have shaped the current situation, as well as the human rights violations and suffering that both sides have endured. By allowing Jews to settle in their homeland after the Holocaust, Palestine was in a state of peril. These Jews are the cause of their destruction, as you can see by watching this video. In the last part of the video, you will know some information that will shock you. Watch the full video with us. The origins of the conflict can be traced back to the late 19th century, when Zionism, a movement that sought to establish a homeland for the Jewish people in Ottoman-controlled Palestine, emerged in Europe. At the same time, Arab nationalism, a movement that aimed to liberate the Arab people from foreign domination and create a unified Arab state, also gained momentum in the Middle East. Both movements were influenced by the rise of nationalism and anti-Semitism in Europe, as well as the decline of the Ottoman Empire. In 1917, the British government issued the Balfour Declaration, which endorsed the idea of a Jewish homeland in Palestine, while also promising to protect the rights and interests of the existing non-Jewish communities. This declaration was seen as a betrayal by the Arab population, who had been promised independence by the British in exchange for their support against the Ottomans during World War I. The declaration also contradicted the Sykes-Picot Agreement of 1916, which divided the Middle East into spheres of influence between Britain and France. After World War I, the League of Nations granted Britain a mandate over Palestine, which included the present-day territories of Israel, the West Bank, the Gaza Strip, and Jordan. The mandate was supposed to facilitate the implementation of the Balfour Declaration and the creation of a Jewish national home, while also respecting the civil and religious rights of the Arab inhabitants. However, the mandate faced increasing opposition and violence from both the Jewish and the Arab communities, who had conflicting aspirations and claims over the land. The Jewish immigration to Palestine increased significantly in the 1920s and 1930s as a result of the persecution and discrimination that Jews faced in Europe, especially in Nazi Germany. The Arab population, who feared being displaced and marginalized by the growing Jewish presence, resisted the immigration and demanded an end to the British mandate and the establishment of an independent Arab state. The British authorities tried to balance the demands of both sides, but failed to satisfy either of them. Several riots, massacres, and uprisings erupted in Palestine, resulting in hundreds of casualties and widespread destruction. In 1937, the Peel Commission, a British royal commission appointed to investigate the causes of the unrest, recommended the partition of Palestine into two states, a Jewish state and an Arab state, with a British-controlled corridor linking Jerusalem and the coast. The commission also suggested the transfer of populations between the two states to minimize the friction and violence. The Jewish leadership accepted the principle of partition, but rejected the proposed borders and the idea of population transfer. The Arab leadership rejected the partition plan altogether and continued to demand a unitary Arab state in the whole of Palestine. In 1939, on the eve of World War II, the British government issued a white paper, which limited the Jewish immigration to Palestine to 75,000 for the next 5 years, and declared its intention to establish an independent Palestinian state within 10 years, where Jews and Arabs would share the government. The white paper was seen as a reversal of the Balfour Declaration and a betrayal by the Jewish community, who felt abandoned by Britain and threatened by the Nazi regime. The Arab community welcomed the white paper, but doubted its implementation and continued to resist the British rule. During World War II, the Jewish and the Arab communities in Palestine sided with the Allies against the Axis powers, but also continued to fight each other and the British authorities. The Jewish underground groups, such as the Irgun and the Lehi, also known as the Stern Gang, carried out attacks against the British targets, aiming to force them to leave Palestine and allow the establishment of a Jewish state. The Arab groups, such as the Arab Higher Committee and the Arab Liberation Army, also carried out attacks against the Jewish targets, aiming to prevent the creation of a Jewish state and secure the Arab rights in Palestine. After World War II, the Holocaust, in which 6 million Jews were killed by the Nazis, increased the international sympathy and support for the Jewish cause, and intensified the Jewish immigration to Palestine, despite the British restrictions. The British government, unable to cope with the escalating violence and the conflicting pressures from the Jewish and the Arab sides, as well as from the United States and the Soviet Union, decided to refer the question of Palestine to the United Nations, which had replaced the League of Nations in 1945. In 1947, the United Nations Special Committee on Palestine, UNSCOP, composed of 11 member states, proposed the partition of Palestine into 2 states, a Jewish state and an Arab state, with Jerusalem as an international city under UN administration. The partition plan was approved by the UN General Assembly in Resolution 181, with 33 votes in favor, 13 votes against, and 10 abstentions. The Jewish leadership accepted the partition plan and declared the establishment of the State of Israel on May 14, 1948, the day the British Mandate ended. The Arab leadership rejected the partition plan and considered it a violation of the rights and aspirations of the Arab majority in Palestine. The declaration of Israel's independence triggered the First Arab-Israeli War, in which the armies of Egypt, Iraq, Syria, Jordan, and Lebanon invaded Palestine and Israel, aiming to prevent the establishment of a Jewish state and to secure the Arab interests in Palestine. The war lasted until 1949, when several armistice agreements were signed between Israel and the Arab states, establishing the ceasefire lines and the borders of Israel. The war resulted in the creation of Israel, which controlled 78% of the territory of the former British Mandate, and the division of the remaining 22% between Jordan, which annexed the West Bank and East Jerusalem, and Egypt, which occupied the Gaza Strip. The war also resulted in the displacement of about 700,000 Palestinians, who became refugees in the neighboring countries or within the newly created Israel, and the loss of about 6,000 Israeli lives and 15,000 Arab lives. The First Arab-Israeli War was followed by several other wars and conflicts, such as the Suez Crisis of 1956, the Six-Day War of 1967, the War of Attrition of 1967 to 1970, the Yom Kippur War of 1973, the Lebanon War of 1982, and the Gulf War of 1991. These wars and conflicts changed the political and military balance in the region and affected the lives and rights of millions of people. The most significant of these wars was the Six-Day War, in which Israel defeated the Arab armies and occupied the West Bank, the Gaza Strip, the Sinai Peninsula, and the Golan Heights. The occupation of these territories, which are considered by the international community as occupied Palestinian territory, marked the beginning of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, which is the focus of the rest of this video. The Israeli occupation of the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, which are home to about 5 million Palestinians, has been characterized by a systematic violation of the human rights and dignity of the Palestinian population, as well as by a deliberate and illegal colonization of the Palestinian land by the Israeli settlers. The Israeli authorities have imposed a harsh military rule over the Palestinians, restricting their movement, expression, assembly, and access to basic services and resources. The Israeli authorities have also confiscated and annexed large areas of Palestinian land, built illegal settlements and outposts, constructed a separation wall and a network of checkpoints and roadblocks, demolished thousands of Palestinian homes and structures, and exploited the natural resources and the economy of the occupied territory. The Israeli authorities have also subjected the Palestinians to arbitrary arrests, detentions, torture, and killings, and have denied them the right to a fair trial, the right to self-determination, and the right to return to their homes and properties. The Palestinian resistance to the Israeli occupation has taken various forms, ranging from peaceful protests and civil disobedience to armed struggle and violence. The Palestinian resistance has also been influenced by the political and ideological divisions among the Palestinian factions, such as the Palestine Liberation Organization, PLO, which was founded in 1964 as an umbrella organization of various Palestinian groups, and Hamas, which was founded in 1987 as an Islamist movement and a branch of the Muslim Brotherhood. The PLO, which is led by Fatah, the largest and most influential Palestinian faction, has been recognized by the international community as the sole legitimate representative of the Palestinian people, and has pursued a diplomatic and political approach to the conflict based on the two-state solution and the international law. Hamas, which controls the Gaza Strip since 2007, has rejected the recognition of Israel and the two-state solution, and has advocated for an armed resistance and a religious approach to the conflict based on the Islamic law. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict has been the subject of numerous peace initiatives and negotiations, but none of them has succeeded in reaching a comprehensive and lasting peace agreement. The most notable of these initiatives and negotiations are the Camp David Accords of 1978, which led to the peace treaty between Israel and Egypt and the autonomy plan for the Palestinians. The Madrid Conference of 1991, which launched the multilateral peace process between Israel and its Arab neighbors. The Oslo Accords of 1993 and 1995, which established the Palestinian Authority and the principle of land for peace. The Camp David Summit of 2000, which failed to reach a final status agreement. The Arab Peace Initiative of 2002, which offered Israel normal relations with the Arab world in exchange for its withdrawal from the occupied territories and the establishment of a Palestinian state. The Roadmap for Peace of 2003. People around the world are boycotting Israeli products. As we wrap up this exploration, I encourage you to share your thoughts in the comments. Remember, learning and growing come from understanding different viewpoints. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more content that sparks conversations. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and until next time.